Hello, everybody. It's Jamie. I just wanted to talk about an intersection of personality and the LSAT. As I was talking with someone this week who is preparing for the LSAT exam, it kind of occurred to me that the LSAT really is geared toward a certain type of personality type. And when I talk about personalities here, I'm talking from the bent of the myers-briggs. If you're not familiar with that, there's a link at the bottom that you can look up about the myers-briggs. Basically, it breaks down personalities into four little neat sections. And speaking on those sections, the LSAT really does gear itself towards those who are judging and sensing off this Myers-Briggs scale. And why is that? Because when you read the LSAT questions, they're meant to be taken in a very logical order, and they're really geared for you to read what's there and assume the premises. And if you are someone who's more intuitive and perceiving, you tend to think of more possibilities. You tend to think more outside the box, not to use a cliche, but, gotta use that. You tend to kind of imagine new things. And that really does not bode well for the LSAT, which makes you kind of hone in on each answer and assume it. And so it's really bent toward those who tend to be a little bit more, you might say, unimaginative or logical and orderly. And if you're logical and orderly and tend to find yourself, more of the bent that you read things and take them, piece by piece instead of like going to your own little head and coming up with new ideas, then the LSAT tends to be easier for you. And my hypothesis, which I've corroborated a little bit, is that as you go up into higher levels of LSAT scores, you tend to find people who are more S and J types, and especially introverted types, because that combination makes for someone that tends to really study hard, go with what they know, and go in an orderly and logical fashion, slowly and steadily, but piece by piece without their mind wandering to other places. So with that in mind, if you are, like me, intuitive, perceiving, and it doesn't come as naturally for you to take each part and just read it literally and absorb it and work through it logically, you have to just take a step back, and when you take those questions, you have to read them and assume each premise, and don't think outside of that. Your mind should focus on the question at hand. It should focus on the answer at hand. It should assume what the call of the question is and apply each example or potential answer with it fully assumed. And that's really hard because very often people bring in their intuitions about things, their personal connotations as to what words mean, and that can be really distracting. Your mind goes off somewhere else. Instead, it's supposed to be focused on the question, clear the world out of your mind, and focused in on that. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And I believe that the people who write the tests kind of are of that mentality to themselves. So it does really favor people who are like that. Unfortunately, for those who tend to be more creative, inspired, lofty with, imagining different how things could possibly be, and bringing in other types of world conceptions into how they read things. So that's just my little tidbit on personality and the LSAT that was just kind of reminded to me as I was working with someone, talking with someone on some LSAT questions. So any questions, feel free to post them down here, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.